Good afternoon. This is Clay Neves, Vice President of Business Development at Universal Accounting Center. And it's my privilege today to be presenting to you with Bill Bruff, MBA, PTP, why you should have tax preparation as part of your services and what to do now to assure that you're successful in 2015. I'd like to first introduce Bill. Bill, are you there?
I am, Clay. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you taking some time with us today. By way of introduction, one of the nicest things I can say about Bill is that he is my tax guy. He does my taxes every year. And of all the people that I could choose to do my taxes, I chose Bill. And that's because he does us a very good job, even better than I could have done myself. And so for the last several years, we've had Bill doing our taxes, and I've been loving it. On top of that, Bill has also been instrumental in not only developing our professional tax preparer certification course, but he also helps us every year in updating the course with the new tax law revisions that come out from the IRS every January. We're committed to have those done in January so that come February 1st, all of our students have absolutely the latest and up-to-date tax law available to them to use to do their client taxes for that coming year. And Bill is very instrumental in helping us meet that deadline every year. Bill, do you have any other things excellent to say about yourself? Other than you play the guitar really well and we've jammed together a few times.
I do play the guitar, yeah. I'm the singing tax guy. I think the other thing I would say about myself, and I appreciate your compliments, I do enjoy having you and Janae as clients, that's for sure. And I also enjoy the time I spend updating the tax course every year because that's part of my education process. It helps me to get ready for the year to come. But I would say thirdly that I am living proof that the things we try to teach or that Universal Accounting tries to teach its students can happen for you. I put into practice everything that we talk about in terms of practice development, starting from scratch and built it up to the point where this is my full-time career now is working on income taxes. So I if nothing else, can stand as a living witness that this works if you apply yourself to it.
Excellent. Well, let's get right into the discussion then. Just wanted to kind of start off with a little bit of humor. We look at the evolution of tax preparation here, and we see that although the technology has changed over the years, we started out, of course, pencil to paper, doing it the hard way. I remember the advent of mechanical adding machines. When I was a kid, they were the things that my father always told me not to play with because I would always jam them up, and I always did. And then I remember when hand calculators first came out, electronic calculators, because I thought I was pretty good when I could spell Shell Oil on the display if you turned it upside down. I remember that in junior high or high school, and I do remember when
exactly.
the computer came out.
The common denominator here.
Pardon? I'm sorry, Bill. Pardon?
I was going to say the common denominator is that they all require aspirin.
Isn't that true? And because taxes are a pain in the neck.
The common denominator of all these techniques for income tax preparation is that they all require aspirin.
And how does that relate then to us as far as...
Let me add that I would not do for a living what I do for a living.
That's correct. And so...
I could not do this for a living without computers. Let's be clear about that. It's impossible to hold in your head all you know.
Yeah. Can you imagine how it used to be? Yep, we've come a long way. And so you see that there's a big opportunity there. I just wanted to play a video here very quickly for you that kind of introduces the opportunity. And after we watch that, then we will continue with our presentation and our discussion with Bill.
Each year, nearly every adult in the nation is faced with the daunting task of determining whether they will owe taxes or receive a refund. Since taxes have become an ever-increasing part of the family's budget, they receive a lot of attention, making knowledgeable tax professionals some of the most sought-after individuals in the United States today. Would you like to become a professional in a field that is in great demand, a profession that will give you more time, more income, and more freedom to enjoy your life? Then learn how to become a professional tax preparer.
So why do we do taxes? And why should you consider doing taxes as part of your bookkeeping accounting service? Well, I think the biggest answer to that is it's why most small business owners even consider getting help with their accounting. Now, Bill, I know that you do both bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes for your clients, but is this true? I mean,
yeah. If you didn't have to file a tax return at the end of the year, most small business owners would not work on their accounting. That's absolutely right.
I mean, you don't get a lot of calls saying, Bill, would you come in and help me put together my monthly financials so that I can study them, get your opinion, so that I can better manage my company and grow my profitability?
You know, you'd like to think that would be what concerns them, but it's true that they generally aren't that worried about that. They are, for the most part, resistant to the suggestion that it could help them run their business to know what's going on in their business financially. Even though that makes sense to us as accountants, it doesn't make sense to them as business owners. And so that's not a good motivator to get them to be your client. It's true.
Excellent. I kind of look at it this way, if I can be so crass, that business owners look at having their accounting done much like middle-aged men like you and I, Bill, feel about a colonoscopy. We know it's a good idea, that's something that we have to do, we should do, that it's good to do, but we don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
And I think accounting is like that with a lot of business owners. And so it's the force, it's the threat of the guns of government, if they don't pay their taxes and they don't pay their taxes right, that gets them to call you, and you probably get these kind of calls. I need your help. I haven't filed for the last couple of years, and I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah, I get those all the time.
And that's usually why small business owners call. Now, if you didn't do taxes, how many accounting and bookkeeping clients would you have lost?
Like I say, most people don't call me because they want their accounting done. They call me because they want their taxes done. So what I look at it the other way around. I get bookkeeping clients from people who have come to me to get their taxes done. I don't get tax clients from people who have come to me to get their bookkeeping done.
Yeah, that's a very good distinction. Another reason that clients will pay you is, if you think about this, anything that is complicated that you only do once a year, you're not going to get very good at. And in fact, the IRS studies have found that for a normal person who does their own return just once a year on an individual return, it averages 16.1 hours. And for businesses, it takes a whole week. It's no wonder that they would rather have somebody else do it. Now, here's the good thing, and Bill, you're probably beating these numbers, but a professional preparer who does hundreds of individual tax returns can go in and do an individual tax return usually in 45 to 60 minutes or less, depending on the complexity.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at that spread between 45 to 60 minutes and 16.1 hours. Can you see where your value comes in? And on business returns, it's the same phenomenon. When you're continually doing business returns, you get very good, you get very fast at it, and you can usually get a business return done in 5 to 8 hours. And that spread right there is your opportunity. What is 45.1 hours of a business owner's time worth? Well, certainly less than you charge them for doing their taxes. And Of course, you may not want to let them know how short of time it takes you, because that would maybe lessen your value in their mind. It's all okay if they think it's taking you 45.1 hours to do it, that's fine. But we all know that it doesn't, and that's really where your value and opportunity comes in. Another reason that clients will pay you, and the previous page kind of goes to this as well, is the reason it takes them so long is they're not familiar with the tax code. According to a recent Tax Foundation survey, 81% of people polled indicated that the tax code was too complex. 70% disliked or hated to do their taxes. And I don't know, Bill, if you've run across any client that has indicated that level of distaste for doing their taxes. But
actually, I have a client that every time he calls me and I answer the phone, he doesn't say, "Hi, this is so-and-so." He just says, "I hate taxes." That's his first words out.
No, we didn't rehearse that, did we?
No, we did not.
But
that's what he says to me.
Yeah, this is so true. Only 11% of the people polled like to do taxes. And guess who those people are? Bill, that's you and the other people who are in accounting and like to do taxes. But even then, only 1% of all people polled loved to do taxes. By that I mean you still require payment for it. And it's still probably a job, and there's still probably, at least 50 other things that you enjoy more than doing taxes. So getting paid for it is why we do it. Well, at least for most of us. Even though we like to do it, it's not our favorite thing, but we certainly can be better than anybody else in doing it, do it quickly, and make a lot of good money doing it. And why do you want to do tax preparation? Well, it's got a low startup cost. Bill, you work out of your home, do you not, or do you have an office now?
I just acquired an office this summer, and I'm trying to get it ready for the next tax season. But yeah, 95% of my work is out of my home. That's absolutely right, and that's how I started my business. That's why it was affordable to begin. I didn't have any zoning laws that required me to work in an industrial park because of the pollutants that I work with. You know, I mean, it was just an easy, clean business. Yeah,
I mean, what do you really need? You need a computer, like you said, but everybody pretty well has that already.
Yeah.
You may need to invest in some computer software, and as long as we're talking about software, the options on those, Bill, can you kind of tell us a little bit about what's involved in getting the software for tax preparation?
Well, there are a lot of choices, that's for sure. And there's some very expensive choices and some much more affordable choices. But when you're first starting out, to pay for the full tax preparation software, almost regardless of the brand, is going to make you swallow hard 3 times and maybe think about doing something else, because it is very pricey software. And unlike a lot of software that you buy, it's no good next year. You got to start all over again. You can't have, you know, Microsoft Word or something like that and use it for years and years and years and never update it. The tax code is going to change next year, and you're going to need a new version of the software. So to make that kind of an investment is really daunting. Luckily, almost all of the major tax and even minor tax software manufacturers that I'm aware of will allow you to pay per return a small fee that might be $10, $20 per return, something like that. And I did that for years until the volume of my clientele. Mind you, I was doing this part-time on the side. That was not my full-time job at the time. But when it became such that I was spending so much on a per-return basis in fees that it began to be more affordable to buy the whole software package, that's what I did. And so it's a big investment and a lot of choices there. I'm not necessarily going to say which choices, which brands of software I would recommend, but it can be affordable right from the start. If you're only going to have 10 clients your first year, you don't pay for the whole software package. You just pay on a per return basis to file 10 returns using their software.
Yeah, that's great. And then when you get your clientele more stabilized and to a point where you're doing enough, you get that economy of scale going with the number of returns that you're doing, to, where it becomes more economic to do it on the lump sum basis. You can switch, but a good way to start. So there's not a lot of cash up front as far as that's concerned. It may be a couple $100 to get the software, but in terms of starting a business, that's nothing. And you know, if you're looking at, do I want to do something on my own? And let's say you worked for a manufacturer, and you said, you know, I could do this business better than my boss. But in order to do that, you'd have to open up your own plant. You'd have to, you know, invest in your own location. There'd be a lot of overhead, high startup costs, and so you stay on the job because the employer is providing you things that you can't provide for yourself. But in this particular business, there really is nothing an employer can provide for you that you can't provide for yourself. And
exactly right.
Why not do it? And the biggest reason is that there are potential clients everywhere. I mean, after all, Bill, who needs their taxes done?
Everybody.
This is not exactly a niche market.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only business, and I've been in a couple of businesses on my own. This is not the first thing I've done as a self-employed individual, but it's the only one where literally everybody I meet is a potential client. I don't have to qualify them to ask them if they happen to use my service or if they happen to own a certain product. Everybody needs to have their taxes done. It's almost impossible to. It's like throwing darts at a dartboard that's the size of your house. You know, you can't hardly miss.
Yeah, and not only does everybody need to have their taxes done, everybody needs to have their taxes done every year.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to apply pressure, and that goes back to the question about why don't people want their accounting done? You know, they think they can do it better. They think they can do it cheaper. I don't have to apply that pressure with taxes because the government applies it for me. They already have a deadline and they know it. And so, yeah, to a certain extent, I just wait for the phone to start ringing, and it never really stops once the tax season gets underway.
Yep. So why do you want to freelance? Why do this on your own instead of with somebody else? You know, you look at the different options that you have, and of course there are franchises out there. H&R Block does $1.9 billion in tax prep revenue over the course of a year. I think this was for their 2013 or 2012 business or their annual report. So there's a lot of money in this, and I know a lot of people that have worked for H&R Block or do work for H&R Block that are thinking of getting out on their own, and you know they get the equivalent, I think, of $10 to $15 an hour once you add it all up. It might be a little more than that.
That's about right. That's about right.
But that's about what they get for some extra work, and the key is, they're getting paid about $10 to $15 an hour, but H&R Block is billing the client that they're actually doing the work for. In other words, H&R Block is billing the client for the work of this person $154 and paying them about $15 an hour.
Yeah.
That's why H&R Block is so wildly successful. Now, if you wanted to, you could go out and get your own franchise. Jackson Hewitt and Liberty Tax both offer franchises. They're about $50,000 each. They keep about 15% of your revenues over the year, and there's about a $5,000 renewal fee every year. But you don't need to get into a franchise in order to do it. We already have the plan set up, and there is no franchise fee. It's just the cost of your training and certification with Universal. So you have the choice. You can spend $50,000 or so plus a percentage of revenues and a renewal fee every year. or you can work for them at $10 to $15 an hour, or you can get trained and certified and start making $100 to $200 an hour on your own. And to me, that's a no-brainer.
If I can jump in here, Clay, I don't think you know this, but I actually worked for H&R Block for a couple of years. That's how I got started in this business.
Oh, I didn't know that, Bill.
Yeah. No, I had my accounting degree and saw that they were looking for tax preparers, and I just thought I'd pick up some extra income. And I had only been there for a month or so when it occurred to me that I was billing people $200, $400 on every tax return and making about $30, and I just thought that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I made plans almost from the very beginning. I made plans to do this on my own when I began to understand how to do it, and I saw how little I was making and how much I was charging my clients for it. So yeah, you're right, exactly right. The term I would use, no-brainer.
And you probably said
why
that
would
to
I make that
yourself.
money for you?
Yeah, why am I doing this for them? I could do it on my
That's exactly what.
Yeah.
Exactly what I. Yep.
So the other thing that you may want to consider are the requirements for success. And it's important, of course, to understand the tax code. This changes from year to year, and in the sense that it usually gets more complicated. We have more and more tax codes come on the books to determine who gets what type of tax breaks, and that'll, I think, continue, Bill. I know there's been a lot of talk about simplifying the tax code. I don't see that happening realistically. There's just too many vested interests in it.
Well, and the other thing is that the tax code is not that it gets more complicated, but a lot of it is based on cost of living increases and stuff. So certain things change every year, not necessarily in terms of complexity, but you just have to keep up with the new dollar values and so forth that apply to certain deductions or to certain income amounts that you're allowed to account for, that kind of thing. And in that regard, it's part of the job to stay current with the tax code. But first you have to know the tax code, and of course that's where universal accounting comes in.
And we can keep you updated every year with the tax updates. And that's what Bill helps us with, making sure that we can get that to you by February 1st every year. You'll also need basic math and organization skills. And again, by basic, I mean just basic. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, the ability to take disparate data and organize it in certain ways, categorize it, to be able to determine where it fits into the tax puzzle. People skills are also important too, though, aren't they, Bill?
You know what? I always say I'm not in the tax business. I'm in the people business. It's exactly right. If you can connect with people on some kind of emotional level, you'd be surprised the things that you find out about people doing their taxes. You are involved in every little piece of their lives in some way. It matters on a tax level if they have a child. It matters on a tax level if they get divorced. Suddenly all of the personal things that go on in their life become part of your job with them. And so if you are sympathetic and friendly to them, they won't be uncomfortable sharing this information with you. I have to be honest with you, I occasionally have people who give me hugs. I have people who bake me cookies. I'm just their tax guy, but I'm kind of part of the family. And you do get to a point when you have a clientele where you see the same people year after year, it becomes, hey, great to see you again. How was your year? Tell me about your kids. And you don't want to spend an hour doing that, but it is part of your relationship with them, is that you are intimately involved in their family on some level.
And that's great. So those are our important things. You need a proven marketing system. That kind of goes along with the people skills. If you can communicate your value to people in a systematic way, you can attract the clients that you need. And there's a lot of attraction in terms of referrals, in terms of word of mouth that gets around, particularly in this business. that really helps you. But to have a proven system to drive that along is really good, and the PTP definitely has that.
Yeah, again, we have suggestions for people, marketing ideas for people. It's not like you can't do this if you don't have marketing ideas of your own. We can help you with that.
Yeah. But you have to be willing to invest in yourself. You have to be willing to invest in your training. This is a profession. It does take some professional training. To have a professional certification helps as well. And so it really comes down to, will you invest in yourself, and will you do something about what you intend to do? If you can do all of those things, and we can help you with any of those where you may need some additional strength, but we can help you get there, and you can meet these success requirements. So let's talk a little more about the income opportunity. As we'd kind of indicated, for personal tax returns, the average time is about 30 to 45 minutes. An average individual return with the state return and all of that is probably around 200. And, you know, I talked with a lot of people at the IRS tax forums, and many of them that go are new because, well, they feel they need the training. And when I run into one that is new, I ask them, so how many did you do in your first year? And it wasn't atypical for them to talk about hundreds of tax returns that they were able to do even in their first year. So you do the math there. That's some significant income potential, even your first year, just doing individual returns. Business tax returns, the average corporate return between $600 and $950, and probably take about 5 to 8 hours. Bill, is that kind of what you're finding to be the norm?
What, the dollars or the time, or both?
You know, how this works out as far as dollars per time and that kind of thing.
Yeah, this is an average range, maybe slightly on the high end for my clientele in terms of what you charge for a corporate return. But yeah, you can do a personal return really easy when you can whip through it in about half an hour. An hour or two is maybe more normal. And then, yeah, 5 to 8 hours probably is about right for a business return. You do a lot fewer business returns, at least I do in my business, but you make big bucks on them because the prices are much higher. But yeah, that's certainly within the average spectrum for my price structure.
And because it comes with that personal touch, and people feel that you're involved in the very essence of either their business or their personal life, they talk a lot about taxes. I mean, it comes up at parties, it comes up as they talk with people, and they get to mention your name. We found that it's not uncommon to have about a 70% increase in business from year to year just through referrals and word of mouth if you're doing a good job. And Bill, your business has grown over the last few years, hasn't it?
My business, yeah, absolutely. It gets bigger every year. As I said before, I kind of can't seem to stop the phone from ringing, so I've got no complaints about that. And I do keep track of where my new clients come from. And word of mouth, or referrals is what I call them, is one of the biggest components of my marketing mix. To be honest with you, the first part of my marketing mix is I want my old clients to come back, so I continue to market to them.
Excellent.
Well, that foundation. I don't want to start from scratch every year. This business would suck if I had to start from scratch every year.
Yeah.
Having that big clientele, but word of mouth or referrals is probably my biggest marketing factor. The second biggest would probably be internet, believe it or not. I get a lot of business from people who do searches, Google searches for me.
No, that's interesting. And of course, you did bring up a great point, how important retention is.
Yeah.
And that's where the communication skills, that's where the people skills come in. Because most of the time they retain because of the relationship.
Yeah.
Assuming that you're doing an adequate job in doing their taxes, you can really differentiate yourself with your bedside manner.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We have a whole chapter in the professional tax preparer that talks about how to conduct your client interview, not only to get the information that you need in an efficient way, but in order to cement that relationship from year to year. And again, very important, not only in terms of retention, but in getting referrals and marketing by word of mouth. So we've even had some people report that between February and April, they're able to make enough perhaps to live on the rest of the year. We talk to a lot of people that want to get into tax preparation and tax preparation only because they don't want to work all year. They would be really cool to just bust it out in 3 months and then be able to party the rest of the year. And so we do find that there are people that don't want to do the accounting part and be tied down. They'd love to commit to three months, make a ton of money, and then maybe take it easy the rest of the year. And it's certainly possible to do with a tax business. In putting this into your accounting practice, it's also a big boost to your income than the first quarter, well, February, March, and April. But you can also add to that then some work that keeps you busy and income coming in the rest of the year as well, that you can augment your tax income with accounting, or you can augment your accounting income with tax work. But they go hand in hand.
The biggest surprise for me when I went from doing this part-time as a seasonal, kind of secondary income source to going full-time was, again, very, very busy February, March, and April. There's no doubt that the bulk of my income, the bulk of my workload takes place during those months. But I was surprised by how many people continue to call me after the tax season is over, or how many returns I have to do later in the year because the clients weren't quite ready to go and we had to file extensions for them. So even though it's true that you do most of your work February through April, it can become, when you reach a certain size, the kind of job that keeps you busy year-round. You don't necessarily shut down after April because for some reason the phone still keeps ringing.
Yep. Very good point, Bill. So what are some of the things then, because this is a tremendous opportunity, and you don't just walk into this opportunity by waiting until February 1st to get started. There's strategic planning that needs to take place and things that you need to start doing now if you want to make sure that you're successful next year during tax season. Bill, when do you start looking ahead to the tax season and starting to prepare and set up your clients to make sure that you have greater success during February through the end of the tax season?
Actually, quite early in the year, you'd be surprised. There are tax conferences where we get together and get training on new things that are coming out. A lot of stuff isn't necessarily finalized in terms of what the new tax code is going to be. Congress is notorious for waiting to the last minute for stuff like that. But a lot of stuff is already known ahead of time, laws that were passed last year that take effect this year, that sort of thing. So in the summertime, in months of July and August, I'm already attending conferences and getting up to date on the next year. I look at my marketing beginning about October, November. I start thinking in terms of my marketing campaign for the next year, and I do a lot of things besides waiting for word of mouth. I do involve myself in some internet type of marketing campaigns, and I also do a mail order campaign. So I have to start planning for that in the fall of the year. I send out letters to my clients getting ready for the new year in the end of the year too. So I'll just remind them that tax season's coming and give them a business and remind them to call me. So it's not like it's not like you wait till February 1st. That's for sure.
Yeah, and so the first thing to do is to get trained on the current tax code. Now is the time to start training. And so if you feel that you need help with that, we've got some solutions for you that we'll talk about a little later. But I can't stress this enough, that in order to maximize your success next year, you really need to start doing some things now. First being, get trained on the current tax code. It's also important that you start now marketing. One of the things that you can start marketing now is tax planning. That is, you start talking to your clients about what they can do before the end of the year to minimize their tax liability on their taxes next year. Bill, how important is this in your practice? Keeping us advised.
Well, some clients don't much care about that, but others, that's exactly what they want from you, is some help in planning for the next year. I will be honest with you, I don't wait till the end of the year and try to make appointments with people and say, let's talk now about next tax season, because the truth is they need to know that stuff all year long. And so I tend to do tax planning with them as we finish the return in the spring. And say, okay, now here's what I see in your financial picture. This is happening. This is happening. You need to maybe do this. You got to be ready for that. So I try not to wait till the end of the year. I try to do that as we're finishing up meeting with them during the tax preparation period. But it become part of your role in their life is to help them see maybe the mistakes that they've been making and what you can show them how to do how come I owed so much this year? Well, it's because of this and this and this. Try doing this and this and see if that goes away. That would be my recommendation, and I do that every year when I'm meeting with them.
And as you get established, that's certainly the best time. It points out that it's never too early to start tax planning with them. But if you're starting or thinking of and considering starting tax preparation in 2015, you can't wait till then to start. You need to do these things now. And tax planning with your clients and talking with your potential clients now about tax planning will not only endear them to you or endear you to them more, but it will also help. They're going to talk to their friends about the tax planning is really where that added value, the thing that they're not really expecting, that can make all the difference in the relationship and get them to talk to their friends, their family about how great you are, comes in the form of tax planning too. You should be researching the tax implications of the Affordable Care Act. Bill, you'd mentioned this in our discussion, that there's a lot of things with the ACA that are starting in 2015, and that it's important to get caught up on that. There's a lot of free information online about this and what's being implemented. Bill, are there also conferences and those kind of things as far as this is concerned?
Oh, yeah. Well, every tax conference I've attended in the last few years has included a seminar or a workshop on the Affordable Care Act. That's absolutely right. One of the things that I do, and I think of it as I guess it's a combination of marketing and tax planning, but unlike a lot of things that are only going to apply, even in the tax code, which is somewhat universal, some things are only going to apply to this taxpayer, not to another. The Affordable Care Act is one of those things that kind of cuts across all the denominators, and it seems to touch everybody to some extent. And so I have, the last couple of years, and I'll do it again this year, I've sent out a letter to my clients making sure that they're aware of how it might affect them, and that they've got their ducks in a row so that if it affects them, it doesn't affect them in a negative way. And then I invite them to contact me. If you're not sure how this affects you, or if you have questions about how this affects you, give me a call. Is that tax planning, or is that marketing? It's both.
Yeah. And so that's certainly a topic for next year and a concern for most people. Let's talk just a little bit then about how we can help prepare. The Professional Tax Preparer Certification Program is a comprehensive program that takes not only takes you through how to prepare individual taxes, but also how to prepare business tax returns. It also takes you completely through how to manage and grow your own practice. And if we look at each part of that, it's kind of unique in the fact that it not only focuses on individual but business returns. It's very hands-on. You learn by doing. It's an audio, video, workbook, multi-sensory. What am I looking for? It's a multimedia presentation that replicates the classroom experience to some extent. It's comprehensive, and we not only teach you how to do taxes, but how to make money doing taxes. And we fully support the program with tax coaching. And Bill, in fact, you do some of that for us, don't you? We refer some of our students.
Today, for sure. And yeah, I used to be the main tax coach, and
that's right.
Left to start my own business. But I was passionate about helping my students. It was some of the most fun I ever had, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you feel like you're in a chapter that doesn't make sense, or how come I got a different answer than the answer key shows, you're not alone in trying to scratch your head and figure that out. You can call somebody, and he'll walk you through that and help you to understand it. And from time to time, I still get contacted by Universal when there's a student who has a question, and they'll say, "Bill, can you help answer this?" So yeah, I'm still involved in that. It's one of the reasons why I believe in the program so much.
Yeah, we get to go to Bill for the really hard questions. And, he still shines that way. The professional tax preparer comes in 4 modules. Module 1, again, focuses on the front side of the 1040 form for individual tax returns, plus all applicable forms that would apply to the front side. Module 2, similarly, then covers the back side of the 1040 and all applicable forms that go into deductions and how to calculate your final tax liability. Module 3 goes into business taxes for the several different business entities, sole proprietorships, partnerships, LLCs, S corporations, and C corporations, and gives you some comprehensive training in that. In fact, going through the professional tax preparer, you should be able to do about 95% of all the tax returns that may come your way. If we were to go to 100%, I think it'd be, instead of 4 modules, maybe 15, because there's a lot of tax law that's very, it doesn't occur very often.
It's the tricky stuff that we left out. Yeah, you're right.
And, you know, we'll back you up on that as best we can if questions on those things come up, and help you out that way. But in order to really give you the most for the best value, we thought 95% of all tax law that you would use on a consistent basis was optimum.
By the way, let me just say that we arrived at that 95% figure by listing all the topics that we thought could be addressed in the tax code, and I can't remember what our source for those was, but we did a kind of a poll of tax professionals and said, how often does this come up? Is this something you do every year? Is this something that only happens every couple of years? And when we were satisfied that we had arrived at a list of all the topics that the majority of those preparers said, this comes up every year, I do lots of these, this is common, then we knew we had the right mix. And the ones that don't come up, except for maybe every 3 or 4 or 5 years, we thought, well, they're just going to have to learn that someplace else, because we can't possibly address everything, but we'll make sure we address the majority of things, and that's how we arrived at that 95% figure, because we went through that list and we'd addressed 95% of the items that we polled them about. Excellent,
Bill. And so you see that it is a comprehensive program that can help you start and grow your own professional tax business. We help you with a checklist and step-by-step instructions on how to start it, how to set up your office, the other considerations that go into the infrastructure that you need, how to market and how to get clients, how to price your services, as well as we talked about how to conduct your client interview and best practices to make sure that you have a very professional tax practice on an ongoing basis. We do have...
Go
ahead, Bill.
Just one other thought about Module 4 is what separates the PTP from every other tax course I've ever seen. We investigated a lot of our competitors as we were writing the PTP and compared ourselves to them. And I can just guarantee you that not one of them contained a module about how to turn this into a business,
Right.
what to do to get started, how to market, how to find clients, what prices you should charge. None of them addressed that. They were all technical. Here's how you prepare a tax return. Not one of them was helpful in terms of making a living with the skills that they were trying to teach you.
That's very good.
Universal.
And that goes for our other programs too, the professional bookkeeper and the universal practice builder, where we do focus on how to make it as a business and make it successful for you. We do have our street cred. We are approved as a continuing education provider by the IRS. That was going to be a huge deal because of the fact that the IRS was going to require for all registered tax return preparers to have continuing education credit every year and to go through a particular course. That was shot down in the courts. That's not required. But if you want to build this into a business, it's still very important. But we did get that quality check from the IRS on the level of quality of our course. Also, we are approved by the National Association of State Boards of Accountancy through their quality assurance standards or portion for online courses. And we are one of the approved providers for training for the California Tax Education Commission for tax preparers in California. So we've been through the testing from these particular entities and have been given their check mark of approval to make sure that you can understand that our course does meet their standards. We also have a guarantee that should help you have faith that this is going to work out for you, because if it doesn't, it's guaranteed. If after completing the course, and you have to do your part in completing the course, if after completing the course you feel that the course didn't meet your expectations, you simply return all materials to Universal Accounting Center for 100% refund of all monies paid. And that's pretty good. We also support it. We talked about that with Bill, both academically as you're going through the course, as well as on the job while you're actually doing taxes for clients. So you can be in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself. You always have us behind you if you need us to give you the advice, the counsel, that depth of knowledge until you get totally up to speed and don't need that help anymore. But we're there for you if you need us. We also have the Professional Tax Preparer Certification that you can use when you take our final exam and pass the course with 90% grade or greater. We do send you a certificate that indicates that you are a professional tax preparer, and you can use that on your business cards, and people will see that you have been certified by a third party that indicates that you've been trained and tested in the ability to prepare their taxes at a certain level of expertise. One of the things that I would like to do is just give you the directions to go if you'd like to check it out more. We have 3 ways to get involved with the Professional Tax Preparer course. If you go to www.universalaccountingtraining.com, and the main category there on the bar would be tax prep, you will see that we have 3 different options listed. One is the Professional Tax Preparer the Professional Tax Preparer Certification course, which is the entire course, all 4 modules, for those of you who feel like you need or would want more overall training in tax preparation for individuals, tax preparation for businesses, as well as how to build and manage your practice. We also have the availability, if you've had extensive or sufficient experience and you feel comfortable with your ability to prepare individual returns, we offer the Professional Tax Preparer Business Returns course by itself. If you feel like you need more experience and more training in doing business returns and would like to add that to your mix. We also offer the Professional Tax Preparer Practice Management course, the Module 4, for those of you who may have experience in preparing individual and business returns, but have never really done it as a business, or have tried and not quite seem to make it work, the professional tax preparer practice management module would be for you and would really help. So if you'd like further information about that, go to universalaccountingtraining.com and check out the professional tax preparer courses that we have there available for you to purchase conveniently online, because now is the time to get started. We've talked about why to add a tax course, and we've talked about the fact that it's important to set yourself up for success next year by starting now. Bill, would you have any final words to say for those who are looking at adding tax to their mix and getting started in this exciting industry?
Well, as I said earlier, I don't get bookkeeping, or I don't get tax clients through my bookkeeping. I get bookkeeping clients through my tax. That seems to be the flow. People respond to the tax pressure more than they respond to the bookkeeping pressure. So I don't know how to think about having an accounting and bookkeeping and tax preparation business without having the tax component leading the way. Beyond that, I have to say I've been in business for myself almost my whole life, and did not start out in accounting or taxes, and I wish now that I had. This is by far the best business opportunity I've ever had, and I'm sorry that back in the 1980s when I started my first business that this wasn't what it was. And, I spun my wheels a long time in some other businesses before I found the one that had the most growth potential, the easiest marketing, and the best income potential too, and the ability to create a long-term business. So I would encourage anybody who has any interest in accounting to include a tax portion, or to make taxes be their main business. Absolutely, it's a great industry.
Well, thank you, Bill, for joining us today and giving your side of the story and your experience in your own professional tax business. I think that's given us some tremendous insights, and I would like to thank those of you who have attended today, and wish you well as you pursue your successful tax preparation business. With that, we'll bid you goodbye.